love hearing those stories, and I hear them all the time now. I have people reaching out thanking me for the work that we do. Hello, I'm Dr. Taylor Tribble, founder, CEO, and president of EduSkills. When I graduated high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and had an opportunity to go live with my uncle, who just so happened to play professional basketball in Sweden. He offered me a job at his little coffee shop that he had started. And that was kind of where my journey and passion for language and culture came. And over time, it developed to interest in schools as well. After Sweden, I had an opportunity to volunteer work in India, Southeast Asia, Central America. And I do distinctly remember feeling a sense of being an outsider. It was the people of different language and culture and religions that were so kind and generous to me, just kind of opened my eyes to an appreciation for people of all walks of life. So it was through travel that led to my desire to support students and communities here in the United States. So my very first teaching position was in Edmond Public Schools, taught Spanish. Once I started teaching English as a second language, I very quickly learned about all the paperwork, data tracking requirements that are involved with supporting that group of students. And I had a principal who would continually ask me to shut down my classroom so I could work on this paperwork and data tracking. That infuriated me because I was there to help kids. I was not there to do paperwork, process data. I saw school districts missing out on funding, doing the paperwork wrong, and felt even more at that time that technology could solve some of these problems. It was around 2014 when I finished my PhD at the University of Oklahoma, brought a team together to actually focus on developing the tools that we have implemented today. So at first, the core of our service was compliance, paperwork, and data tracking, and we've grown since then to providing resources, instructional support, and recommendations, supplementary materials for teachers, and then more recently, building out a curriculum for families to increase family engagement and to help them understand how best to support their students in public school systems here in the United States. We have now built to the point where we serve districts nationwide. Our largest school district has 150,000 students, and almost 50,000 students are learning English as a second language. So one of the top 20 largest school districts in the nation. And then we have little tiny school districts also. People take pride in their work. And part of our services is offloading some of the work that someone does. And sometimes people are so tied to their role and their idea of what they should do that they have a hard time letting go of that process and letting somebody else do it and trusting somebody else to do it. They don't fully grasp what they can do differently, how they can use their time differently if they were to use our services, how they could be more efficient, and instead of focusing on paperwork and data tracking, they could focus on doing what humans do best, and that's build relationships. And that's what we're all about at EduSkills, is helping educators build relationships, break barriers, and build bridges to support families and students in the classroom. Hey. What we hear all over and over again is our customer support is some of the best in the industry.
Anytime that we need any help, we can jump on any Zoom call or in a phone call, and he was able to let us know about any trouble or problems that we have using the platform. How are you?
That's one thing that we pride ourselves in, is our relationship with our customers. At the end of the day, it all comes back to that relationship and meeting people's needs and being willing to meet those needs.
Yes, it's really good to see you, man.
See you too.
Yeah, I'm a road warrior. I'm on the road a lot. We don't have a sales team. We don't hassle people with phone calls all the time or marketing emails, and I know that's something that districts appreciate.
The lack of state funding is causing problems in the classrooms.
For over 40 years, our schools have been underfunded.
Our services are able to pay for themselves and increase funding for school districts, and it happens time and time again. And that relates to accurately identifying students that qualify for state and federal level funding. So I noticed as an educator and an administrator that districts were losing out on this funding because they weren't accurately identifying the students. So in Oklahoma, for example, a student that qualifies for bilingual funding gets an additional $800 to $900. And so if you're losing that, if you're not tracking correctly, that's a loss of $800 to $900 per student. And so there have been larger school districts that have increased funding through the utilization of our services by as much as $500,000 just by making sure they're documenting everything correctly and identifying students in the way that they're allowed to identify them, but that's just been so time consuming that they just haven't had the manpower to be able to keep track.
Demographics have changed a little bit, huh?
Before we had EduSkills, we actually had some people scattering paperwork all over a floor, trying to organize it and make sure it's inputted correctly, but this way we get all of our information done quickly, correctly. We gain approximately $80,000 just from those EduSkills forms being done correctly. So we can maximize our money and our time educating kids rather than doing paperwork.
Yeah, it has come full circle. I was helped so much by so many people around the world throughout my travels, and now definitely giving back to those communities is I think, great reward for sure.